Ken Paxton ramps up efforts to push out 3 Republican judges.
It's ludicrous that this Court of Appeals suddenly out of the blue, after 71 years of precedent, struck down this statute. And so the voters now have a decision.
Why a ruling against the AG is fueling this intra-party fight, and how the outcome could reshape the state's highest criminal court. A new state law is supposed to make toll road bills more transparent, but some drivers are still having problems. Our investigation looks at what's behind the financial frustration.
That's kind of the last frontier.
And self-driving 18-wheelers on the road in Texas. Why the state is the latest testing ground for AI driving technology.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. We've told you how Attorney General Ken Paxton is campaigning against some Republican House members who voted to impeach him. But Paxton has an even bigger target. He's also backing challengers to 3 Republican judges on the state's highest criminal court. It comes after those judges ruled the Texas Constitution prevents Paxton from prosecuting voter fraud cases. Our Ryan Chandler spoke with 2 of the judges Paxton wants to push out and looks closer into what's at stake.
Sharon Keller has led Texas's highest criminal court for 24 years. In her hands is literally life and death.
If any big death penalty case or any case that's been in the news, it's probably been in our court.
In her nearly 3 decades on the court, she's drawn a reputation as a tough-on-crime conservative, a strong supporter of the death penalty.
I've always been criticized, if anything, for being too conservative.
But not enough for the conservative Attorney General. Ken Paxton and his wing of the party are rallying against Keller and 2 other Republican women on the court. It stems from an opinion back in 2021, where the court ruled 8-1 that the Attorney General does not have the authority to prosecute election law violations. The court found the Texas Constitution reserves that power for district attorneys.
Since 1836, the Attorney General has never had the duty to initiate criminal prosecutions. It seems that our Attorney General is angry at us because we were not partisan political activist judges on his behalf.
The conflict going national. Donald Trump Jr. wrote on Monday, Texas is under attack by activist judges like Sharon Keller, Michelle Slaughter, and Barbara Hervey, who have stripped AG Ken Paxton of his authority to prosecute election fraud.
Texas politics are not local anymore. These are national fights, and that can be pretty influential. There are going to be a lot of people who are paying attention to this race who otherwise weren't, and that's the kind of place in politics where, as an incumbent, you're going to be pretty nervous.
The incumbents say the campaign is all misinformation, hoping their conservative credentials will carry them back to the bench.
That is more misinformation. Of course, we didn't strip the AG of his authority anyway. The Constitution did it.
Ryan Chandler, State of Texas.
Earlier this week, we heard from Paxton himself. He spoke with Jen Phillips, anchor with KAMC in Lubbock. Paxton spoke on the record about his push to defeat the judges on the Court of Criminal Appeals.
It's ludicrous that this Court of Appeals suddenly out of the blue, after 71 years of precedent, struck down this statute. And so the voters now have a decision. Do you want voter fraud prosecuted, or do you not want it prosecuted? If you want the laws that are passed by the legislature followed, we're going to have Gina Parker, Lee Finley, and David Shank elected statewide to overcome this decision.
Ryan joins us now. We heard Paxton say that he thinks the court's ruling is wrong. What justification is he giving for having the power to prosecute voter fraud?
So Paxton says the Office of the Attorney General has been able to do this for as long as it's been around, and he's partially correct. The Attorney General can prosecute local criminal cases if the local district attorneys ask for their help. But per the Texas Constitution, there's a separation of powers that restricts the Attorney General from being able to initiate those criminal prosecutions unilaterally. The judges cite precedent dating back to 1859 all the way through 2020 in a dozen different cases that say the Texas Constitution specifically delineates the responsibilities of the Attorney General's office, and criminal prosecution is not part of that.
Yeah, and this is another important example of how Texas' system of electing judges can politicize the judiciary. You spoke with Chief Justice Nathan Heck about the dangers of that a couple of months ago. What did he say about that?
The Chief Justice and I spoke at length about this back in December, and he called it a terrible system. The way Texas elects judges that can accept campaign donations, elections and have to go out and campaign for the vote for an office that is ostensibly supposed to be nonpartisan and judicial. He said he's very concerned about that, and this is just another example of how politics and rhetoric can get in and kind of poison these elections that really should rise above that. But you know, what's the saying? Democracy is the worst system of government except for all the others. The alternative would be appointing judges, but then, you know, that would be up to the governor and the Senate. It's just the way that we've chosen to do that in Texas, and it's up to the voters to see through the noise and try to come to the most informed decision they can. So how could the court change if these judges are defeated? So it would be replacing very conservative judges with very conservative judges. The jurisprudence of the court probably won't change very much, but the Attorney General's office certainly will. This would give Ken Paxton a power that he very much wants but does not have now. So for Paxton, it would be a big win, because he says if these judges get in, they could overturn the decision that took this power away from him. All right, Ryan, thank you very much.
A former Texas lawmaker is trying to win his way back to the Capitol.
We have to make a change in District 19 for the people.
How the governor is getting involved in this Texas House District battle. Self-driving 18-wheelers are already rolling on Texas highways, but are they safe? We look at new efforts to get the technology ready for the road. And a new state law is supposed to make tollway bills more transparent, why some drivers are still facing auto pay problems and sky-high surprise bills.